but they're not that effective. I mean, how many fundamentalist Mormons are there out there? Yeah, and look at when they changed. In 1890, the whole church changed to becoming, quote, monogamous. I don't really believe that, but yeah, they changed that for political reasons. But yeah, it has a certain attraction. I mean, power, the ability to have multiple wives, control, have the welfare system support your family. There's some positives to that. I mean, there's benefits for it. You can't deny that. The other side of the coin is, look at how they behave. There's a lot of guilt in Mormonism. And they put tons of guilt messages on women. If the elder wants to marry you, you better marry him. Never mind there's this cute little boy over here that you'd rather marry. They put a lot of guilt on the women, and then they sanction those women. You know, if I'm the elder and I want to marry you, and you don't, you're out. I mean, I would kick you out. The other side, the other problem is that fundamentalist Mormon has is there's too many males around. So they end up kicking the males out, and they keep the females. And back in Joseph Smith's day, Brigham Young's day, they were sending the missionaries out, you know, to knock on doors and sneeze on people and bring recruits back. They put a hard, strong emphasis on bringing young female recruits back. Not to marry the missionaries, to marry the elders. Because many of these elders had 20 and 30 wives. Joseph Smith had 38, Brigham Young had 41 wives. You have to have a lot of recruits, or you have to be screwing your own daughters or something before you get that. Yeah. Okay, moving right along. Where's the... Yeah.
All right.
You're on.
Okay. I've noticed that some of the, the mimetic, the virus techniques aren't just seen in religion, but they're also seen in politics.
No.
So, I mean, one example.
Wow.
Yeah. One example would be just the spread of the Tea Party, but also on the other side of the aisle, I've noticed how Barack Obama speaks. Like, go back to his 2008 campaign speeches. Change is coming to America. Yes, we can. He's
right.
He is speaking in that cadence.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. It works. It works. Politicians have been using hypnotic techniques for centuries. Look at Hitler. I mean, I don't speak German, but watch a Hitler speech. It's just really hypnotizing. It really is. So, to hit the... How many of you are familiar with the concept of memetics, memes and memetics? Okay, not very many people. That's why I don't talk about it. But let me just say this real briefly. There are three kinds of ideas, or memes, or memeplexes. There's the beneficial kind. Let's use algebra. Algebra is a good meme or memeplex. Then there's the hula hoop, which is pretty benign. Right? Didn't do anybody any good, but didn't really hurt anybody. Texting is a new benign meme. As long as you're not driving to it. And then there's parasitic memes. Parasitic memes, religion falls within parasitic memes, just like virus, some parasitic viruses. That doesn't mean there aren't other parasitic ideas. I think Marxism looks a hell of a lot like a religion. In fact, in my book, I classify Marxism as a religion. It behaves a whole lot like it. Look at North Korea. Kim Il-sung is president for life eternal. He's been dead for 20 years. Lenin is still entombed in Moscow. People walk by and virtually worship him. You know, these guys look a whole lot like pharaohs, being deified. So I think Marxism, and I think there are other parasitic ideas. And they're floating around all the time. Religion is just one of them. I'm only focusing on religion. I'm not interested in going into all the other mean stuff. So, another question.
Well, I have a similar thought, that is that advertising public relations, on which tens of billions of dollars are spent to put those jingles and responses to people all over the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Very,
Right. They want to infect your mind with Wheaties, the idea of Wheaties, or a Toyota car. So, well, it's just ideas right now. But now, is the Wheaties idea or the Toyota car idea parasitic? Does it make you do things that are against your nature, like become celibate? Probably not. No Toyota I ever owned. I owned several. Some of them I wasn't celibate inside the Toyota. So I'm sure that Toyotas don't do that to you. So think about it. Yes, there are memes around, and memes are trying to get us to do things like give them money and stuff, but they're not parasitic. They don't make us give 10% of our income. They don't make us stop seeing somebody because of the wrong religion. They don't make us stop masturbating. I mean, that's what I mean by parasite. It makes you do unnatural things. Religion does it. There's a lot of potential. And that's why religion and the military go so well together. I'm serious. If you infect somebody with the right kind of, religion and military have gone together for centuries. Going back to the Crusades, going farther maybe. All right. Yes.
I'm wondering what you would recommend, or if there's any way that we can eradicate this God virus.
I get that question a lot. I'm going to give two answers. If you've got kids or grandkids, let's start immunizing our kids and grandkids to the God virus. Here's the way you do it. If you want to immunize children for the God virus, take them to church and lots of them. Take them to church and lots of them. Take them to the Mormon church, then take them to a Buddhist temple, then take them to a Catholic mass. Take them every week to a different church, and then talk about it. Read their respective holy books. Read the different translations. Get involved with your kids' religious education. And by the time they're 16 or 18, they'll see it's all bullshit. It will be very difficult to infect a 16-year-old who's been to every church in your community and then a few more. So that's number one. Number two is, I think this is something we can all do. If you are an atheist or agnostic, come out. The gay community is finding that's the most effective way to combat homophobia in our culture. Come out of the closet. Well, if you come out of the closet, and I come out of the closet, before you know we've got enough people, it would be impossible for the religionists to control this culture, to use our tax dollars to get prayer back into school, or to pay chaplains in the military, or whatever it is my tax dollars are going to that is focused on their God virus. So I think coming out is the best thing you can do personally. The next thing is make sure we're teaching science in schools and not religion in the biology class. So if your local school is teaching stupid things in biology and you find out about it, raise your hand. Let people know about it. So, that's not being activist, that's being practical. I don't want my kids or grandkids being taught that stuff. So, and now they live in a different city, but if I don't act here, somebody else won't act there. We all need to be taking responsibility. It's not activism, it's responsibility. I am responsible for my culture. I'm responsible for making sure that rational, scientific ideas are being taught in our homes. That's three things. I could probably go on with some other ideas, but those are the main ones. How much time and when should we?
We still got 4 minutes.
Okay.
Kind of more on that.
We'll get you next.
I know you're not into deconverting people or anything, but why is that an okay policy to take when you got the masses of the infected voting and even some lunatics running for office?
That's a good question. I've got an answer for you, and it's simple. How many of you have argued with a religious person? Okay. How many of you won the argument? In their mind. In their mind. Okay. 2 people kept their hand up out of how many? That's what I get every time. You cannot argue somebody out of something. You cannot use logic to get somebody out of something that they didn't have logic to get into. They weren't thinking logically or rationally when they were infected with the God virus at 5 to 7 years old. So, when I see people arguing and pushing and being aggressive in arguing with religious people, all you're really doing is piss them off and making them more defensive. When people get defensive, they just retreat even more deeply into their belief system. Let me give you a quote. Remember this quote. Write it down, memorize it. Defensive people do not learn because defensive people cannot listen. Defensive people do not learn because defensive people cannot listen. The minute you start arguing with a religious person, you put them on the defensive, you're going nowhere. Now, I'm not against debate and discussion, but if they come to me, that means they're willing to listen. If I'm imposing myself on them, I'm just going to cause more problems. That's a more sophisticated way of going about it. I know I'm not, my daughter's religious. I know I'm not going to convert her, but I don't back down. I don't say you're stupid for being a Baptist. I didn't raise you that way, but if she wants me to go to church with her, I'm saying, no, not doing that. If she wants me to pray, I won't do that. If she wants, I just stand my ground. And it's pretty obvious. It's like witnessing. As an example, I'm not witnessing to her by arguing with her. I'm just being an example of who I think a good human being looks like. Yeah.
I don't know how common this experience might be, but since at least half of us in here said we were atheist, I'm guessing also that half had a religious experience at some point. They were religious, they were raised religious, something. So there was a breaking with the church experience.
Well, hold up. How many of you were never raised religious? See that? I'm finding more and more, a lot of people, but you're right, about half are, and the other half are. Yeah.
Can you comment on people who break with the church as young children? How does that, I love your metaphor. How does that fit within your viral metaphor?
Yeah. Well, okay. Have you ever noticed, let's say we got a family with 4 kids, and the parents are really, really religious, and 3 of them grow up very religious, and 1 of them doesn't. Now, maybe not being atheist, but they don't go to church. Have you ever noticed a family where everybody in the family gets the flu except 1 kid? Same thing. There's something about their immune system that prevents them from getting the flu. There's something about the way their brain is organized that prevents them from buying into the bullshit their parents are trying to cram down their throat. Now, I'm saying they have to be a pretty darn intelligent kid. I mean, the dumb kids, the ones that are low functioning, seem to get the virus real easily. It's the more intelligent ones, and I'm serious. I write about in the book there is a clear correlation between intelligence and non-religiosity. The people that I talk about say, well, I was never religious, they're also going for their PhD, or they belong to Mensa or something like that. And I think intelligence and curiosity, in fact, of the correlations, there's 5 basic characteristics of personality. Only one of them correlates with non-religiosity, and that's curiosity and openness to new experience. The other 4, you can be very religious and be any of those other 4. So if a kid's really curious, they're really open to new experience, they're probably less likely to be infected. And if they do get infected, they can easily slough it off. Whereas the rest of the kids, that's my theory. I haven't gone out and tested kids. I've just talked to people like you. I'm betting you're a pretty darn intelligent person. A grad student, there you go. You have to have an IQ of 110, roughly, to get through college. You have to have an IQ of about 120 to get through most master's programs, MBA programs. You can be a 90. Bad, I know. and you have to be something higher than that to do a PhD, 125, 130 or so. So I don't see high school graduates showing up to my talks. They just